Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with just a quick Rogue Market update. I'm going to do these just on the spot. Again, with the Rogue Market, with the Resurrection of Rogue Market, they're going to be more high production videos where I'm going to make more long-term predictions or just talk about certain cards I think are undervalued or when to buy, when to sell. A lot of times more staple cards, but I'm going to try to put out these videos as soon as a brand new archetype basically hits the metagame, and so you can get ahead. And so these are just going to be real time. So as soon as I figure out information, I'll try to do a video on it and send it out, and that way you can get ahead of the buying spree, which tends to happen very, very quickly nowadays on both MTGO and in paper Magic. So here is a deck. This is by Bina. They went 5-0 in a Modern League deck using Eldrazi. So far it looks like, oh, just another Eldrazi deck, but it absolutely is not another Eldrazi deck. This is utilizing one of my favorite cards ever printed, which is Heartless Summoning, which creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and then it gives all your creatures -1/-1, but your deck is not going to care about the -1/-1 because getting out a creature a lot quicker is worth the deduction in their power and toughness. So I tested this deck. So spoiler, I played this deck for Rogue's Alley. You can check it out this Friday on GatheringMagic.com. And I was getting so many comments while playing the game from my opponents. So my opponents were like, I got to brew this. Where's the list? And whatnot. So it just, first of all, when I saw it, I had to brew it. Then when my opponents saw it, they had to brew it. Yeah, that shows you that this is a deck that is going to get people talking and going to get people at least buying the pieces and trying it out. Now, there is some inconsistencies with this deck. It is another one of those decks that if you don't have one of your ramp spells, it is tough. Like what I like to call it is you just sit there and dirtle sometimes. You just have a bunch of high casting cost cards in your hand and then it can't do anything against aggro. I lost a couple matchups versus some more aggressive based decks just because I just couldn't get anything out, but I was able to race a lot of those aggressive based decks as well. And I think that this deck is very solid. So let's just go down the list. This is the whole goal of this list is to try to get out Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, which is basically game if you cast it quickly. In Modern, you can exile 2 lands, you can exile 2 of their threats, and pretty much it's the I win if you cast it. We also have the Oblivion Sower, which can help ramp you, which is a 5/8 that is very hard in Modern to deal with a 5/8. And then you can subsequently get a lot more of their lands if many are exiled. But the difference between this deck and the old Eldrazi deck is it's not trying to exile cards and reprocess cards through cards like Oblivion Sower, Wasteland Strangler, or Blight Herder. It is just trying to get out these big creatures. So it's also using Conduit of Ruin and Kozilek's Chandler, because Conduit of Ruin can go tutor up an Ulamog and make your first creature spells cost 2 less, and Kozilek's Chandler can just tap and add 2. And through the Eldrazi Temple, Eye of Ugins and Heartless Summoning, Kozilek's Chandlers are very, very, very easy to get out. So I suggest with this deck, I'm not going to go over like a complete deck tech because with this deck, with this video, it's not relevant. Plus, I want you to go watch the Playing on a Budget, or excuse me, this time around, it's going to be the Rogue's Alley this Friday on Gathering Magic to see kind of the additions that I made to this deck. I changed it up quite a bit because I think that there is some changes that the deck wants, especially in the sideboard, to kind of play against other mid-range and aggro-based decks, especially in the metagame. But what we have is an opportunity. This is a 5-0 deck that's very, very fun to play. It's a ramp deck. I had a blast playing it. All my opponents had a blast playing against it. Well, maybe the ones that actually like to play Magic and don't care about winning and losing as much as actually experiencing the game. I had a lot of awesome comments throughout the playtesting of this, and it just shows me that people are going to get on the hype train here and at least try it out. And so the engines, like what you want to do with the Rogue Mark is you want to find cards that are already undervalued. You don't want to be buying into Ulamog, for example. Ulamog is already around $22 a piece. So the majority of Ulamog's future is not gonna go up that much because it already is very expensive. So I don't like to, again, I think it's Corbin Hostler he's one of the huge speculators in the MTG community. He has stories about like purchasing all of his furniture off of specs, like buying a bunch of all his kitchen appliances one time off of specs that he made. And I mean, he's very, very intelligent in the market community, and he has the whole rule of thumbs that leave like the last 25% for someone else. That means that if a card only has the opportunity to go up to like another 25%, that is not worthwhile in a spec. You want to find a spec that goes up 400 times, 400% of what it's worth right now. And so cards like Oblivion Sower, which is in a Battle for Zendikar, what is it, dual deck, Zendikar versus Eldrazi dual deck. It costs a whopping $20 to purchase the entire deck, which also has a Eldrazi temple in it. It doesn't have a lot of room, doesn't have a lot of wiggle room to grow up, to go up in value, because of just that puts a cap on how much the Oblivion Sower can be. Those event or dual decks are printed in a very, 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 very high level. You can find them at Targets and Walmarts, and we can still, as a game store, we can still order them. There's plenty of them around. So I don't suggest going into the Oblivion Sower. I think that it will go up because of decks like this, and the Eldrazi just continue to become a better tribe, especially with Gatewatch coming out. But right now, sitting at like $8 a piece, $7, $8 a piece, Oblivion Sower possibly could go up to 10 to 12. I think that's about its market cap before people open up the event decks or the dual decks and then get their money back. So I do not suggest this. What I suggest is it's going to be 3 cards. The first one, actually 4 cards. The first one is the engine. When you look at a deck, the first thing it is going to spike is the thing that is allowing the deck to win, or the thing is being the most spectacular, the piece that you can't change for something else. And in this particular deck, it's Heartless Summoning. And I've liked Heartless Summoning for quite a while, because there's been some other decks with Heartless Summoning. There is a Mirror Retriever deck that you can go infinite with. I've talked about in, was it one of my spoiler videos? There's a new Eldrazi coming out of the next set of Ultimate Gatewatch. It's a 2 costing. It's a 2/1. But again, it's another free spell you can cast. And so just like a creature storm-based deck, now we have Hangerback Walker, Endless One, and now this Eldrazi out of any other artifact as well out of the new set. But what makes this very interesting is Heartless Summoning and Eldrazi Eye of Ugin make these Eldrazi free. And so anything off like a Beck Call, you can cast a ton of these free Eldrazi spells and then draw cards. And then I'm thinking about like No Rest for the Wicked to bring them all back to your hand and recast them and just draw a ton of cards and just try to storm off. So what I'm trying to say about Heartless Summoning is this card continues to get better and better with more options available. It's the same thing that I have about Beck Call. Beck Call at the moment is not, it's 2 mana, it's just really hard for Beck Call to utilize in Modern, but it's a card that gets better and better as time goes on. There are certain cards, when they're in their standard or block formats, they're borderline unplayable because there's just not enough ways to interact with them. But when you bring in the entire history of Magic the Gathering, cards like this begin to shine because there's a lot of ways you can pair it up. I've had some success with Heartless Summoning Legacy before, just because anything that reduces cost can be broken, and in my opinion will be broken. So we're thinking about cards like Ethereum Sculptor, you name it, anything that's reduced cost in the past. I use Heartless Summoning in a couple commander decks, and so even if this deck didn't exist, I like Heartless Summoning for the long term just because of its unique effect. So you can see we've already seen a huge spike, so we might be a little bit too late for the initial rush, as it has gone up from 10 cents to 70 cents on MTGO, and it's gone up to 50 cents to 60 cents. But I was looking at TCG Player, there's still a decent amount of copies for Heartless Summoning from around the 35 cent to $1 mark. And then depending on, one of the things I like to do at TCG if I'm going to buy into a certain card is you sort by item price, not by item price plus shipping, and find someone that's like shipping something for $3 but has 30 copies. And that way, if you're going to buy 30 copies of it, you just pay the one shipping fee once, and then usually get a discounted rate on how much you can actually buy a single copy for. And if you average it out with the shipping, it becomes less than what you would find if you were to sort it by item price plus shipping and just buy 1 or 2 copies and try to buy 30 of those specific ones. So anyway, Heartless Summoning is right for the taking. I don't think the deck is going to go anywhere. I tested it. It did great. I think it's very similar to like Escape Shift or any other, or Tooth and Nail Escape Shift, even Tron, as it's just a ramp deck that's trying to get out a threat that your opponent cannot deal with. So Heartless Summoning is also pretty decent in foil, which is funny. This is always a funny thing on MTGO. Sometimes the foils lag behind and take a while to catch up to the non-foils. So we have Heartless Summoning. It's sitting around $2 for foil, so it's starting to go up. You can see I just refreshed, and it went up from the $1.67 to $2. So it seems to be there already is a spike going on, a kind of a buyout going on with Heartless Summoning. So if you're quick, you can get your copies. I'd at least suggest ordering your 4 and having your playset right now. All right, so go back to the deck list. The other one I do like is Conduit of Ruin. Conduit of Ruin is 72 cents right now on paper. It has not seen a spike yet, but it is a 3 to 4 of in this deck. I really like it because it's just something, it's a 5/5 body that also ramps your next spell and also can tutor you up a card. So online, it's still very, very low. That's because it's a rare out of Zendikar. Usually rares in a set that's being drafted are going to be extremely low, and in this, that's the case. What I do kind of like is the foil versions. The foil versions are pretty. This deck goes. I play this in Animar EDH. I play in a few different decks for Commander. I think it's got a nice little ability. Again, this is Heartless Summoning for the first card you cast per turn after this guy hits the battlefield. So foil copies I think are pretty low, and the regular copies is 72 cents, with this card just getting better and better as more creatures are printed in the format. Cards like Conduit of Ruin or Sanctum of Ugin do get a lot better. There isn't a lot of options in the Magic world at the moment. Colorless creatures with converted mana cost 7 or greater, I don't believe there's that many of them. And especially in that many of them that are good. We have a lot of cards that are pretty bad with converted mana cost 7 or greater with colorless. But as far as good ones, we just have the Eldrazi Titans and then Void Winnower and a few other cards that I think that are worthwhile with Conduit of Ruin. But as time goes on, this card just gets better and better and better and better and better with more options. So I do like Conduit of Ruin. I do think that 72 cents is a bargain for a card like this that is going to see a ton of casual play and a ton of even constructed play in a deck like this, so you can pick up your Conduit of Ruins, even though I don't think it's as high of a priority as Heartless Summoning, because it's more of an afterthought. It doesn't have to go in this deck, and we're going to have to wait and see if this is actually worthwhile. One of the cards that I've been trying to play in replace of Conduit of Ruin or kind of supplement with it is Cryptghast. Cryptghast with this deck is actually kind of cool with Heartless Summoning, because you can get out on turn 3 and still have mana left over to activate an Eye of a Expedition map. So basically Cryptghast is all your swamps, tap for an additional black mana, and it just has a very good synergy with Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, because each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So even if you tap your Eldrazi Temple for 2 mana, you can actually get an extra black out of it with Cryptghast. So it's a card that I'm messing around with this list. The only problem is Cryptghast is a 1/1 with Heartless Summoning. What I think that this deck has a lot of room to grow is with, instead of focusing too much on colorless cards, just focusing on cards that get a lot of advantage off of Heartless Summoning, and Kozilek's Channeler just ramping them out. So I thought even cards like Runescar Demon, even though I don't think the Runescar Demon is powerful enough in Modern, but just cards like that, I mean, even Sidisi, who can tutor you up a card for 5 mana with Heartless Summoning, that's 3 mana. Same with Kozilek's Channeler. It comes out about the same time. Doesn't work off the Eye of Ugin or the Eldrazi Temple ramp as much, but it comes out about the same time as a Conduit of Ruin or Oblivion Sower, and it can get you that benefit you're looking for. So I think this deck has a lot of room for innovation. I really like cards that at least have 2 colorless mana in their mana symbol to have synergized with the Kozilek's Channeler, the Conduit of Ruin, and the Heartless Summoning. So anywho, let's go back to the last. There's 2 more that I really think that you should invest in. I believe I just bought 20 of these last night, which is, and it's already gone up. So from where I bought these at 35 cents a piece. Okay, so it's about the same. I believe I bought 10 copies of Kozilek's Channelers it ended up costing me with shipping for $4. So 40 cents a piece is what I paid for foil Kozilek's Channelers. Now, here is something where you have to look at this and say, okay, it's a common. You're never going to invest into a common. You're just not going to. It's something that takes forever. You can say, yeah, Spell Pierces are worth money, Gitaxian Probes are worth money, but that takes years and years and years for these cards to go up to their $1 above mark, and they have to be heavily played in a Modern format for them to get to that point. However, foils are not the same. We can look at a lot of staple foils, and in their common form, they get very expensive very quickly, just based upon being played in standard and modern and casual, and a lot of people like to foil out their commons. I've done it in Soul Sisters. All of my commons, all my Celestial Flares, Sundering Growths, Squadron Hawks, they're all foiled out just because they're so easy to find, and it's something that you can quote-unquote upgrade the deck without really breaking the bank. So we see a lot of these common foils, even if they're even slightly played, start to go up, and this one is just this is what you consider a bulk foil at 48 cents. Again, I like this in a lot of EDH decks. I really like this card in Animar. Animar Eldrazi is my favorite way to build Animar. I'll have to show you that sometime. And so even in a casual format, I think that Kozilek's Channeler has a good future of going up in the foil version. So I think that picking up Kozilek's Channeler foil is a great investment. I think that I expect this to at least be $2 and above. Most commons in foil that have any sort of playability, even just slightly playability, usually have like a $2 price tag. We're talking about like even cards like Urban Evolution, for example, I was looking at in foil is, I think, we can just look it up right here. Urban Evolution. Yeah, so perfect. So foil of Urban Evolution, a card that just sees play every now and again in EDH, is $2.50. So that it's something that you can easily compare in a foil version of a casual, and this one in a 4 of. And the good thing about Kozilek's Channeler is it also is seeing play in those black Eldrazi decks. So people, I've tested it, and I think it's okay if you're running more of a heavy Void Winnower or Ulamog. It's a great way to get out an Ulamog. Kozilek's Channeler also can just add 2 to your mana pool. There's a lot of spells that this benefits off of, like All Is Dust and whatnot. Just get out. I've chained expedition maps off of Kozilek's Channeler, or at least cast an expedition map and be able to activate it with the Kozilek's Channeler mana. It's a solid card. A 4/4 body is really good. So it's a Platinum Mirror for just 2 more mana with a much better body. Speaking of Platinum Mirror, I think the Platinum Mirror might actually work in this deck. Again, I'll get into a deck tech more thoroughly when you watch this on Rogue's Alley. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but anywho, the last card that I suggest that you get into right now is going to be the Sanctum of Ugin. It is starting to see a little bit of a spike, but this is another card that just gets better as time goes on. This adds colorless mana to your mana pool. Remember this. This adds colorless mana to your mana pool. We're looking at modern or our standard coming up with Oath of Gatewatch, and so far there isn't a ton of cards that get like extra value while still adding colorless mana. You have all the blighted cards that I think are going to be really good for a lot of these colorless mana symbols out of Oath of the Gatewatch. But Sanctum of Ugin, if you cast a color spell with current mana cost 7 or greater, you can sacrifice it and search your library for a colorless creature card and put it into your hand. So it's another way to tutor up just from a land. We did see as a 4 of in a, what was the green Eldrazi ramp? Yeah, this one. So it has seen play before in standard. It's very, very low at 56 cents. The foils are $2.88, but it is a 3 of in this deck. This big Eldrazi is what I like to call this deck. You can easily go up to even a 4 of in this deck, and I think that's fine. And it's just an easy way to chain Ulamog. So if you cast an Ulamog, you can go find other Ulamog. Or in my version, where I put Void Winnower and Kozilek in there, and I think I put a Sundering Titan and a Platinum Angel in the sideboard, it's a way for you to tutor up those specific cards as well. So I think the Sanctum of Ugin is very, very low. These are the cards you want to get into because they have the most ability to go up. Like, it's a lot easier for me to see Sanctum of Ugin go from 50 cents to $2 than it is from Ulamog to go from $20 to what? That'd be $60 and if you were to, or actually it'd be times it by 4, so $80 if you're going to get your investment back. So Sanctum of Ugin's, it can easily triple, quadruple. Ulamog, I don't even think that Ulamog's possible to double. It could double, and same with Oblivion Sword and whatnot. So those are my pickups. Kozilek's Channeler and Foil, Conduit of Ruin, Heartless Summoning, and Sanctum of Ugin, I think, are just duh pickups at the moment. You've already missed the boat on like Eldrazi Temples. Look at these. These just went crazy. They are up to $6.50. They come in the dual deck, which you can pick this up, get Oblivion Sword, Eldrazi Temple, a Stirring Wildwoods is in it, and an Avenger of Zendikar is in the event deck. It actually looks worthwhile to pick up an event deck now just because of the one of the Eldrazi Temple that exists in the deck. So this is what happens, though, when you see the deck all of a sudden sees play. So it's worth nothing, then boom, it's worth a ton because it's the 4 of now in a very, very mainstream deck. And then same thing with Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. This card has been slowly going up in paper since it's been going down after rotation. And online, it just went crazy. It's now up to $11. So let's see here. The other one is Eye of Ugin. that spiked like crazy after the Eldrazi deck. It is now up to $22, and online it just continues to rise. It's up to $10 and whatnot. So go check your Modern Masters, see if you have any of these things lying around in there. I think that they're going to continue to go up a little bit, but they're fine to sell off and just make your money at 22. They're pretty heavily open in Modern Masters too. It's hard for a rare to keep above him. That's what Spellskite's at, is around the $22 mark. And Spellskite is a heavy, one of the most played cards in a diverse amount of decks in Modern. So anyway, that is why you want to get ahead of these little spikes. I think that this, once again, is one of those decks that I would suggest picking up and playing because it's a hoot to play, and I think that your opponents will enjoy it. And then the more people that play this, the more people that see this, will lead to the more people actually building this. So go ahead right now, buy your Heartless Summonings, your Conduit of Ruins. If you're only going to buy one, target one, Heartless Summoning. Get ahead of that buyout. It's already happening right now. Get a piece of the action. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.